Hey, everybody, and welcome to our podcast show. On our podcast show this week, we'll be talking about the recent Mobile World Congress in 2023, which was recently hosted in Barcelona from the 27th of Feb to the 2nd of March. It's organized by GSMA and it's the world's largest and most influential event for mobile phone makers, telecom service providers, and media companies. So if you want the latest scoop in all the latest up-and-coming mobile phones, new mobile technologies and software, then this is the place to be. Big players like Samsung, Nokia, and even Huawei are there at this year's MWC. Joining me this week, of course, is our co-host Stephen Fung, who is a big fan of Samsung and loves using Samsung Galaxy mobile phones, and he'll explain why. So, Stephen, have you ever been to the Mobile World Congress event, and what do you think of it? And is it worth going to?
I've never been. And like you said, it sounds like it's a show that's pretty boring for most people that are looking for the latest products. It's definitely no consumer electronics show where you can touch a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, just listening to people talk about about the standards necessary to deploy a 5G network or the latest Bluetooth stack protocol, that doesn't sound very interesting. But you're right. There should be some interesting things like out there, like concepts and everything like that. Like you said, Huawei, Samsung, and Nokia in the past have launched some of their latest flagship phones. HTC, the Hero and the One also launched at Mobile World Congress. So it used to be a very big deal show in that respect. I think it still holds a lot of influence and sway because a lot of the carriers, when they select handsets to sell on their networks to us as consumers, they make their decisions based on some of the conversations they have at this show. Yeah. So will there be interesting things to talk about? Is there something that you need to know? I think there are a few things at this show that you might want to know about. Plus, it's also the home of the International Mobile Gaming Convention. Yeah, so if you develop mobile apps and everything like that, this is the place to be. So get your tokens and your money wallets ready to buy all of the latest non-fungible items for your characters and
NFTs.
And your games. Yes.
Yes. Okay,
Yes.
so we covered some of Samsung's Unpacked event in February, and we already know what kind of stuff Samsung will be releasing this year. But what about other brands? Well, let's take a look. So this year's MWC, there was a slew of mobile phones with foldable screens, which was showcased at this event. And but we all know who started that trend. So first off, we have the Honor Magic 5S or VS. So it's powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 processor with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage and a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. It's a book-style foldable smartphone, 6.4-inch cover screen, and a unfolded 7.9-inch screen. So it's like a tablet phone thingy, right? OLED screen, 120 hertz, with a resolution of 2560 times 1080. And unfolded screen has 90 hertz refresh rate and 2272 by 1984. It's kind of weird, right? It's got a 54 megapixel main camera, 50 megapixel wide angle, and 8 megapixel telephoto with 3 optical zoom. So what do you think about this kind of more foldable phone now? It's kind of the trend, right?
Yeah, it's definitely trendy because Samsung kind of set the tone for that. We did find out recently that when they launched the first Note, foldable phones were already in the pipeline. They had started to develop those. So it took a good 8 years for Samsung to actually get it right. Seeing the spec list alone, we can tell that the specs aren't the top. I mean, I think the Ultra now, the S23 Ultra has a Gen 2.
Oh, the Gen 2,
right?
Yeah, okay.
So plenty of RAM in this one. So the next Fold 5 will obviously have specs that will go above this. Battery size, about the same. You're right. The resolution's a little wonky. It's a little weird. It's not 4K, but it's to be expected for a phone. 90 hertz refresh. The cameras and everything sound about the same and everything like that. And weight and everything like that. It looks like it's very close to what the Samsung is. Like, don't get me wrong. It's absolutely very, very close. But what are they gaining from having a phone that's the same specs? Because Samsung spends a lot of time on one UI which is their skin of Android. So is this just going to run vanilla Android? And can it? Because Android themselves don't have a foldable phone, at least not yet. So that means
would be Google Pixel, right? They haven't got one of those yet.
The Google Pixel doesn't have a foldable foldable partner yet in their lineup. So that means that Honor, in order for all the features to really work really well, they have to develop their own version of a skin to work with all of the gestures and folding and throwing the screen back onto the front 6.75 inch, 6.45 inch cover screen. That's a weird number.
That's a weird number.
And that's stuff that they need to do. That's stuff that Samsung has already done. That's homework that they've already done.
That's right.
To make it a good experience, right? Like when I use my hamburger flip phone, hamburgers, right? It's a hamburger, right? It has functions in it that allow me to make this experience a lot more intuitive, and also adds utility and value. So if I flip it sideways like this, I can still use a lot of the functions, but I can also have email on the bottom. I can split the screen and everything like that. That's not native to Android.
Yeah. So remind me, the one that you have now, the Flip Z4, is that right?
Yeah, Z Flip 4.
So you had the Flip 3 Z3, right? As well.
I had the Galaxy Z Flip 3, and the only reason why I switched it is because the battery was so horrible on the 3 that I just, it was the only thing that held me back from really loving it, was that the battery life was terrible. It really was. This phone, at the very least, it gets me through to the very end of the day where I don't even notice it, where I'm going to charge it anyway. I have to sit down for dinner, right? So it's more usable.
What about the screen, because last time you said the 3 started to the screen started to kind of peel off a little bit. Is that right?
It's actually the screen protector.
Right. And on this one,
I have to tell you,
it's better.
It's better. It's more durable, but it has started to peel.
All right.
It started to crease right there.
But you can get a replacement of that from Samsung free
absolutely.
charge, right?
Yeah, it's free of charge.
Because it's under the warranty.
Yep, absolutely. So once I changed that the cover, once I changed that out, it never happened again. And what the tech there said was that they believe that it was because these phones, the first editions, were kind of pushed out very quickly. And as a result, they didn't apply the screen protector correctly. So when they had those phones come back, and when they did that for those customers, it never occurred. It never happened again months later, right? Whereas in the first place, it happened in like a couple months, right? Also, you have to realize that in Canada, it's a lot colder. So if you misapply the screen protector on a phone, it's going to react much more negatively, much faster than if you were in a place where it's a lot warmer, where the screen itself remains pliable, so it stretches with the weather. Yeah.
So like I said, the Samsung's got a good warranty plan. I think that's really good, good for the consumer. And you wonder about Honor and other brands, because how well they're going to cover the warranty. I mean, the screen, like I said, could peel off and stuff like that. And what you really want is to have that user experience, that user customer service, to have the screen fixed up, because especially it's foldable, right? You need that.
Yeah, totally agree. Like, I'm looking at the spec list, and I'm not seeing anything in this hot dog style flip. Hot dog, right? This is a longer phone, right? The hot dog style flip that is making me say, if it's within $100 or $200, I'm still going to buy the Samsung, because I don't know what I'm getting. I know the parts are the same, but I know that the interface is not the same. It hasn't been skinned. There's no software support. Am I going to get support for 4 years on Android updates? I know it's the same processor and everything, but what components have they added to make it incompatible with future Android updates? That's a question mark, right?
That's true. We'll see. Well, next up we have Tecno Phantom 5 or V Fold.
Who are these guys? Who are they?
I have no idea. But they have a screen size of a 6.43 inch unfolded screen with 7.85. So it's slightly small, about a couple of, couple of inches.
It's so much tinier.
Yeah.
It's like
and they both have a dynamic 10 hertz to 120 hertz refresh rate. It's got the LTPO technology, that kind of stuff, right?
Okay. So good
but
screen.
This time, and this one uses a processor called MediaTek Dimensity.
No.
9,000 plus processor.
MediaTek, come on, people. You put a MediaTek anything in a device in this day and age, you might as well just throw it out next week.
Well, it comes with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gig or 512 gig storage space. It's kind of like that's especially when you want that to a terabyte, right?
This is like the poor man's hot dog folding phone.
Yeah,
this is the poor man's phone.
Yeah, same capacity, 5,000 milliamps for the battery.
Yeah.
But this device got loaded with the cameras, right? So we got three at the back, 150 megapixel main camera, another 50 megapixel telephoto, two optical, not three, two optical zoom, 13 megapixel wide angle, and plus another 32 meg camera for the cover screen, plus a 16 meg camera on the unfolded screen.
So but how much is this thing? Is like this if you put a MediaTek processor in anything, it's a throwaway device. Yeah, you throw it away, right? Like it's good for a year, maybe two, and then it's done. So everything on this spec list sounds good, except for the processor, which is the heart and soul of the entire phone.
Yeah.
So it's letting it down by the processor. If it's half the price, I'm sure it's going to find some customers. But knowing that you're going to ditch this phone within a year or two versus 4 years over a Samsung, no way. No way.
You mentioned that before in one of our podcasts. You said that they did a test on getting a really expensive phone versus something that you could maybe last like a year. And in terms of updates and all that kind of stuff, you're better off getting the expensive one because it'll last you 3 years, right?
Well,
whereas this one,
Yeah, like fellow podcaster and media personality, MKBHD, did a test. He actually had a brand new value-priced Motorola handset today, brand new, but it was a lower. It's like a MediaTek processor, right? Had a MediaTek processor on board. It had all the latest features and everything like that. But the experience that he had was worse than the OnePlus 7T, which is a 4-year-old phone, like 3 or 4 year old.
It had a better processor and extra updates and that kind of stuff.
It started off as a better built. I think it was the McLaren edition and everything like that. It was just a better phone out of the box, right? And because it came with at the time the top of the line Snapdragon processor, I don't even think it was the top of the line. It was like one step down, but it was the faster version of it, like 865G or something like that. It was still a better phone today than today's cheap phone.
Right. So like is that little quote that you say, right? Buy nice or buy twice.
Because if it was I'm pretty sure it was a 3 or 4 year old phone. So if you spend $800 for it, which is an average price of a OnePlus, flagship phone, that's $200 a year. You just bought a phone for $400. You're gonna throw it, and it's worse.
Yeah,
it's worse, right?
It's no point spending that much, and then you're just done with it in a year's time, right?
Unless you're someone that tends to break phones all the time, then that's a different conversation we're gonna have to have. That just means that you don't care for the stuff that you own. So buying nice is garbage, regardless of your ownership, right? So, but that was a very interesting thing that he illuminated, and I tend to agree. I keep my phones for a very long time. The OnePlus 7 T, which is the faster version of the Pro by processor, smaller screen and everything like that, but it's still fast enough today.
Right. It's true. All right. Well, talking about OnePlus, OnePlus has announced the OnePlus 11 concept phone. So I think OnePlus 11 has already been out, but this is the concept version powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, the beefier one. 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM. Comes with active cryoflux, right, to keep the OnePlus concept cool while you're charging the phone and while you're GPU intensive gaming, mobile gaming. OnePlus 11 has the 6.7 inch super fluid AMOLED LED screen with same thing, LTPO technology, dynamic range with 1 to 120 hertz refresh rate, 1,300 nits for brightness, and 50 megapixel main camera, 48 megapixel wide camera, and the 32 megapixel telephoto, right?
Yep.
Comes with all that Dolby Vision support for color enhancements and sharpening. Resolution is bigger. It's bigger actually, 3,216 times 1440, right? But of course, but by default it's set to 24/12 times 1080, so you can up the resolution.
Yeah.
So that's quite strange, right? But something in feature. The phone is equipped with stereo speakers, Dolby Atmos support, and again 5,000 milliamps battery. So this one sounds pretty impressive. And from the spec, it's I would say a pretty decent competitor to the Samsung. What do you think?
Yeah, this is S23 Plus in Ultra territory, but S23 Ultra has the stylus, so this does not have that. But what you're looking at right here is you're looking at a screen technology that is equal to or greater than what the Samsung has. It's a full super fluid 6.7 inch LTPO 3.0, which is the latest standard, 1 to 120 hertz refresh rate, and a very, very bright 1300 nits maximum brightness. Now, keep in mind though, how Samsung has actually set up their brightness scale is actually very granular. So it can actually ramp up from, it's not just on and off, it's like different gradients, like there's 2 or 3 phases, I can't remember exactly, that allow the brightness to come up and adapt to your surroundings. 1300 nits is actually very respectable. It's daylight viewable, so it gets very, very bright. Now, where it's also very good is the 5,000 milliamp hour battery. That's really great. And anyone that knows OnePlus, they know that the phones will have super fast charging. So it's probably going to be charging up to 100% within 20 minutes with a 65 or an 85. I think it's 85 watt in the new version. Can't remember. Don't quote me on that. If you know for sure, leave a comment below. Charger, which means that it's going to charge that 5,000 milliamp hour battery up like in 15, 20 minutes max. Right?
Yeah.
So it looks great. Dolby Vision support, so you can actually view content on it. And it's got 4K resolution as well, too. This is a media consumption device. I love that they've put a heat pipe inside.
For active cryoflux. For cooling.
So it's gonna be a fat phone. It's gonna be a fat. It's not gonna be skinny. It's gonna be a fatter phone.
It's a bit like that Asus. What do you call it?
The ROG phone. Yes. But I think that because OnePlus tends to put things together in a more sleek package, I think it's not going to be as aggressive looking. It's going to look like a normal phone, but I can see that this phone, because of the bigger battery, maybe it'll balance itself out, because big battery, the heat pipe, maybe depending on where it is, it might just balance out the gaps inside the phone. Who knows, right? Looks like a monster.
Talking about the screens, we've seen a lot of phones now using this LTPO technology. So, like I said, we've seen it on Samsung. I think Apple have got that as well now, right? So there's kind of like that black ink kind of e-ink, isn't it? That e-ink screen kind of film.
I think it's more descriptive in the sense that it has more gradients of adjustment than in the past, because
it goes into that power saving mode where the screen doesn't come on bright, right? It's just kind of like dimmed, but you can still make it out, and for notifications, things like that. So it's just more of that little feature, I think.
It seems like it freezes elements of the screen that are not in motion. It keeps it that way until it's time, and then turns it on, right? So it's always kind of pulsing, but at a very, very low heart rate.
So therefore, it's one hertz.
One hertz, and then when you turn it on, boom, ramps it up, right?
Okay.
And then if you're playing games, ramps it up some more, right? I heard something about this phone is that when it's when you charge it, when you plug it in, I think this is the one where it basically doesn't even top up the battery when you're playing games. It'll just push everything to gaming.
All right, so full on
gaming
power mode
experience.
is like full on turbo modes. Like.
So when you are not gaming, it'll charge it very fast. Right. So I think this is the phone. I heard something about this. I can't remember if this is the one. If I'm incorrect on this, please correct me below in the comments.
So, again, this brand, OnePlus, maybe not a lot of people know about this brand, but it has been on a lot of people's radar in terms of like people who loves Android phones, loves performance, because it is one of those things I've seen. OnePlus, they have some really good phones coming out, Android based, with all the new features, new processor, nice RAM size and everything. So it's if you want a Samsung equivalent then OnePlus is a kind of phone that you might want to consider as well.
Yeah, they're very well supported. They have a community that they service.
Yeah.
They also have updates for a very long time. On my OnePlus 7T, we just got one of the last.
Oh, you have one?
Yeah, I have a OnePlus 7T, which is old. It just got its last major update to the latest Android, and that's basically it. It's going to get security updates, so they've been very good about that. It's the other One UI, which is very confusing, right? So their One UI is their skin on top of regular Android that gives it all of its functions and everything like that.
Yeah.
So, but at least they put some work into it. And this is the company founded by Carl Pei, who is now the guy behind the company called Nothing.
Oh, Nothing.
Who's just launched a new phone, new earbuds. Now he's doing keyboard or something like
keyboards.
that. Yep. Mechanical keyboard.
Oh, well, custom keyboards, mini keyboards is kind of the thing now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stick.
So he's into that right now. But what he said about the OnePlus phones is that what he gave OnePlus was an identity, and what the new phones are, they don't have the identity that he offered it. So maybe someone at OnePlus heard him, and this is their answer.
Yeah. Right. Well, we talked about high-end phones, and that we always have to have some affordable phones. So the Nokia G22, so cheap and affordable, 4G phone, 4G now, okay? Powered by octa-core Unisoc T606
What
processor.
is that?
I never heard of that.
No.
Right? Well, it comes with a 5,050 milliamp battery, actually after 3 days use apparently, right? Because it's lower spec processor, lower 4G, so it saves on battery. Anyway, there's a choice between 2 gigs and 3 gigs of RAM, so it's a lower spec.
Oh my God.
It comes with 64 gig of internal storage space, and you have a micro SD card slot if you want extras. We're going back like 2 years now.
You're going backwards in time. Yeah, this is like
6.4-inch screen and 50 megapixel camera with 2 megapixel macro, and that's it.
This is like a Pixel 2, the Google Pixel 2 or something older. Like this is disgraceful. Like come on. Like even the brand Fairphone. Fairphone builds a sustainable phone that has all replaceable parts. And even that phone is spec better than this phone, and the parts that you can actually replace on the phone. And they guarantee software updates for a number of years.
Yeah. Well, Nokia is saying that this phone is made from recyclable green parts.
Okay.
So maybe that's if you're like environmentally conscious, then that's something. If you don't need 5G, if you don't need all the high spec kind of stuff, then this could be the phone. But you're looking back like kind of the spec, which you take back like 2 years ago, right?
Specs are crap.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is this gonna be one of those phones where you buy it now and you're gonna regret in a year's time?
Well, I'm just looking at it now. It's going to be a repairable phone, just like the Fairphone is. Parts of iFixit is on board with this phone because they'll sell parts and a kit for it that allow you to replace parts as they like the battery and whatnot. But I think that what's holding it back more than anything else is the processor and the 2 to 3 gigabytes of RAM. This is going to be e-waste faster than you know it, because if anyone's buying this phone, either A, their requirements are not great, or B, they've bought it and they've made a horrible mistake with the Nokia name from better times in history.
The funny thing is, right, when people like us who buy high-end phones, but then also, even if you got the old phone and you're going to use that for as a second phone, as a, spare phone, or even a phone that you used to have, like I said, I used to have an iPhone 11 or iPhone 12. I could pass that on to my kids or even my parents. Right, so there's no need to get a cheap phone like a Nokia G22. It may cost you like $300, $400. I don't know.
This thing's $180.
Oh, it's $180. Okay,
so it's
that's cheap. That's cheap.
That's like the price. Okay, that's like the price of a Amazon tablet.
Okay.
Right. So if we're playing in this category where it's just good enough, and you get 1 to 2 years of use, I find the rationale for repairability a little weak here. Yeah. It's just a selling feature. You're not going to repair this.
Yeah. If you're going to buy a cheap tablet, then buy a cheap tablet. You don't really want to buy a cheap phone.
Yeah.
For that kind of purpose.
I would rather them spend money on making it not repairable and bringing the price of this phone down to like $150, $125. Because if you're going to make it repairable, that means it's something that you want to keep. But by the time you buy all the parts, you might as well have spent the extra $150 and bought something decent.
Yeah, I think Nokia should not just focus on the current, the trend where it's like environmental, it's cheap, whatever, but also they need to develop a high-end phone, really. Okay, not compete with Samsung, not compete with iPhone, but something that they can call their own with the high-end, like OnePlus. I mean, they compete with Samsung, yes, but at a different kind of consumer group of people, right?
Yeah.
They should do something with Nokia. I don't know.
They should double down on what they're known for. The Brick 3310, which is indestructible, that will break that will break your saw when you're sawing through it. I've seen these videos where people have been trying to destroy these things in like industrial, like they can't even get it into a crusher because it spits itself out.
All right,
it refuses to die. So I don't know. Maybe they need to make more durable phones. Maybe that should be their niche.
Or like something like when I remember the Matrix phone came out.
Yeah,
and that was a Nokia, and that was pretty cool.
The flippy phone, the drop. It's like,
and the drop ones. Yeah, and didn't they say to produce a banana phone as well? Or something I can't remember. Well, but like I said,
I really feel bad for Nokia. Microsoft did them dirty. Like they really did.
Yeah, that's true. That wasn't their fault.
That was an $8 billion mistake from Microsoft, and they wound the company down and gave it back.
They ripped all the IPOs, the IPs, and then used it for themselves. And then
that's sad. Like Nokia has basically become the Kodak.
Oh yeah,
the Polaroid of the phone world. It's like in name they sound good, but in practice the phone is kind of shit.
Yeah,
sorry, children.
It's true.
Like that's the thing. I wouldn't even buy this for my kids because it's so cheap that I would be replacing it next week.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
Because if you think about it, kids have more higher requirements for their handsets than the adults do. In many cases, their apps and everything, they're more savvy than we are, and they're using it more competently than most adults.
That's true. That's true. There's a lot of stuff that the kids are doing. I have not got a clue. I mean, seriously, they
get it.
Actually, there's me struggling with the mouse, trying to draw something on my PC, right? And they're doing it on their finger, on a tablet, like whizzing around, and then
they understand
doing animations on their pad. Like, it's really cool. So we'll see more and more phones coming out. Hopefully, new technologies, new features, and everything. But more interestingly, though, talking about the next part is the 5G and cellular infrastructure. So, like I said, the MWC event is all about service providers and ISPs and mobile, carriers and stuff like that. So, there's a big focus on the 5G, and I think 5G will last at least 3 to 4 years worth of service before we move on to 6G or even 7G.
Yeah.
But the biggest money earner from telecoms companies providing the infrastructure, the cellular towers, and wireless antennas, right? So Nokia, Ericsson, Huawei are the main players in this field. Huawei is pretty much banned in the Western countries, right, due to security concerns. So the so-called Five Eyes Alliance, right, which includes Australia, Canada, right, New Zealand, United Kingdom, United States, but for the rest of the world, it's a wild west.
Yeah,
seriously, it's up for grabs.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that?
How safe is a Canadian SIM card going to be in another country that's running Huawei equipment? Right? How safe is does it really matter? It's like you ban things in one part of the world. The only way that you can actually make it stick is if the entire world makes it stick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
If you let certain parts of the world do whatever the heck they want, you're right. It's a wild, wild west. Right? So if you want to make it difficult for the big dragon, the Chinese government, not spy on you, then you either A, don't go to that country, or B, you stay home.
The thing is with Huawei, whether there is a connection between the Communist Party, blah blah blah, government, Chinese government, but their products have always been a cheaper option for a lot of the carriers.
Yeah.
So, the antennas, the towers and stuff like that, they cost thousands, right? And you need investments of millions. So, for example, I heard a story, and this is a main story covered by the news outlets, that in Britain, UK, they invested, or the telecoms company invested millions, literally millions, hundreds of millions of dollars or pounds worth of equipment produced by Huawei for their next 5G infrastructure, towers, antennas, and stuff like that, all over
Canada
the country.
made the same mistake.
But then, because of this alliance, they had to take it apart.
Yeah, same. Canada made the same mistake.
It's just nuts, right?
They had the equipment; it was all set up and everything like that. Then they said nope. But there's a deeper connection to Canada and Huawei, and that's the fact that when Huawei was just a little tiny arm of the Chinese government, of the Chinese army, espionage division, they stole a lot of IP allegedly from Nortel. Nortel was one of the biggest telecoms in the world. You saw Nortel phones, Nortel equipment, Nortel switchers, Nortel, network equipment all over the place. Nortel was there was a security leak that Nortel felt that they were too big to be exploited on. So they let this leak fester, and people were very arrogant. They didn't feel the need to actually patch these leaks inside their network, inside their infrastructure. And it was slowly, these plans were siphoned off overseas into China. Ooh. And the first switches, the first telecom routers and switches and all those things for phone calls and everything like that, it went to the predecessor of Huawei, which became Huawei. So that's how they got started, apparently. This is the story. So due to their own arrogance, it's completely Nortel's fault, but they should have taken the security threat much more seriously. Right?
Yeah.
Is it Huawei's fault that they capitalized? No, I would capitalize if they were doing so. I would find out what's going on. I wouldn't copy it directly, but I would find out what they're doing and make my own version. But no, these were clone copies of all the stuff that Nortel was charging thousands of dollars for.
That's right. Because I remember back in the UK when we first had our cable modems and all that kind of stuff, even in Hong Kong, the telecoms provider would provide a Huawei unit. As the router and also the cable modem or broadband modem or one of those things, and it was made by Huawei, and because it was cheap enough to replace, and it's for them. It's all about money. It's all about cost, reducing costs. And Huawei produced the cheapest hardware for that. And it got into all the consumer consumer products and stuff like that. So it's something that it's not just consumer products and their phones, but also infrastructure, the towers, the
backbone, and
the
everything,
antennas, the backbone, everything, that kind of stuff. And there's health concerns, right, regarding cellular mobile signals. They operate on a microwave. So if you don't understand what this, you can Google that. But if you see an antenna near your home, right, whether it be on a building structure, coming off the wall or on the tower or whatever, beware, because it may be a health concern. So I'm not 100%, I'm not a scientist or a health doctor or anything like that. But if you're sensitive to microwaves, be careful, because I think from my experience, I remember we had a cactus, right? So a cactus survives in the desert, very resilient. You could just bung that in anywhere, and as long as it gets light, a little bit of moisture, you're fine, right? So the cactus is a very sturdy plant, and I think my uncle used to work for a telecoms company. I can't remember which one, and part of his job was overseeing some cellular antenna installation on certain buildings. So we did the test. So he mounted one of these antennas. I think it was at the time 4G, a 4.5G, whatever, and he put a cactus in front of this antenna, maybe about 10 feet apart from the thing. He just left it there, and within a week, that cactus, right, a sturdy plant, very resilient, it literally melted. It turned into a jelly. Seriously,
jelly.
It was crazy, and I thought, no, that can't be it. So he says that's why people working in the industry, they know. If you're sensitive to microwaves, it doesn't affect everybody, apparently. But if you're sensitive to microwaves, then if you look at cellular technology and waves and signals, it is based on kind of like high frequency microwaves, but in a kind of low, what do you call it? I'm not sure what the scientific term is, but it doesn't affect most people.
Yeah.
But if you're sensitive to that, you might want to be, looked into that.
It's like an allergy.
Microwaves.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things. I think the towers now are a bit more health kind of like considerations. They do have like some special masking on them to prevent any kind of stuff.
Lower power, etc.
Yeah, yeah. So it's more kind of, and you don't see you see those towers a lot, those antennas. But I think they're trying to integrate them into what do you call them? Those buildings, the eco buildings, where it's all where there's plants and there's like wood stuff, and make it more eco-friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
That's right. So that's where the money is, 5G and cellular infrastructure. And so next part, let's talk about VR and AR.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen virtual reality has been around for quite a while. Early renditions of VR was slow, blocky. Computing power back in the 80s and 90s wasn't really up for the task. So forward 40 years, we're now seeing VR goggles, VR eyewear that can be connected to your mobile phones with ultra real VR kind of experience, right? So I'm sure Samsung and Sony will have something affordable consumer product.
Sony's just launched theirs. The PSVR 2, is that?
Yeah.
So that's in the pipeline. It's coming soon. It's supposed to just be plug and play into a PS5, and it works, which is fantastic. And no download needed. The headset's ready to go. You just plug it in. The only downside is that if it's plugged into your console and you're running around, it might just yank your PS5 off the table. We'll see what happens there.
That's right.
But I think there's definitely some things happening in this space that'll make it a lot better. Like VR, you can't wear outside.
That's right. But they are trying to make it portable. They're trying to shrink the size of it. We've seen backpacks, right? You've seen those backpacks, PCs.
Yeah, that's so old school, though. I mean, I saw that many years ago, and I'm like, oh, wow. I can't see myself doing that. But everything integrated using a phone SoC. That's what the MetaQuest is basically. It's basically a Snapdragon 8 Gen, Qualcomm 8 Gen something inside a goggle. It sits on your face. It's lightweight and everything like that. But it's still too big to be practical. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So they're moving on with it. They're progressing. So in the future, we could see very affordable and also lightweight goggles or glasses where you can put them on, and that's connected up to your mobile phone with whatever 5th generation, 6th generation Bluetooth, whatever. Then you got the speed for connectivity, and then you have that VR experience. But we're still early stage yet. We haven't seen real kind of like consumer products, affordable consumer products yet. So you could see that in the future.
On February 22nd, Sony will launch their PSVR 2 at $549. It's the price of a console.
It is.
Right?
It is, yeah. But
it's,
your mobile phones, how much are they now?
This is self-contained. So, but you have to plug it into something. It's not that mobile, unfortunately. So, is there a place for them? I think that everyone's working on something. I think even Apple is working on something. And I also know that the Galaxy VR goggles are actually they're in the pipeline. They're coming. I don't know what that'll look like, but I hope that's coming. So that'll be soon. At some point, maybe not the end of this year. My prediction is that they may announce something, but they won't know what it is until next year.
That's true. We'll get to see some VR products, hopefully, maybe this year.
And what did they say? The latest version of the next version of the Meta VR headset will hit in 2027.
All right, so not far. Well,
it's a long time away, right?
3 years, 3 or 4 years.
Because their Pro is like 2,000 Canadian.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
who's going to buy that?
That's expensive. Yeah,
so for an affordable headset to come out, that's like $500 where people can buy it. 2027. That's a long way away, Mr. Zuckerberg. I don't know if you're going to make it.
That's true.
Right, you're spending a lot of money.
That's a lot of cash burning, right?
It's a lot of cash burn. So I mean,
all right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, let's not forget about AR, augmented reality.
Yeah.
First introduced in mobile phones over a decade ago. I thought it was just a gimmick, but people, you've seen them, a lot of apps, including those favorite games, Pokemon Go and that kind of stuff, right? Google entire suite started using it, with Google Lens, Google Search,
Yeah.
and Google, of course, Google Maps. Have you seen any, or do you use any AR maps on the mobile phones? Do you see AR being a big thing for the future, mobile phones?
Not really. I mean, I'm not putting a headset on my head to walk around. That's just silly, right?
It helps with the maps, though, right?
I
It's
know,
got,
but
directions left and right, and you got to virtually see a building behind.
I don't want to look like here. Who's that guy on Dragon Ball Z? He has the heads-up display. And he's always measuring everyone's power level. Like,
oh yeah.
I don't know if I could do that. Like the original Google Glass, innovative product, not practical, right? A lot of people had it.
It was kind of cool to have one, right?
Cool, innovative, geeky, but not practical, right?
Yeah,
It didn't do anything for you.
Yeah.
What I'm expecting is in the next AR revision is you have a pair of Ray-Bans. They look normal.
Yeah,
they don't just have a camera
and they
on
have
them.
Camera, yep.
But it gives you a HUD. It actually gives you information.
Yeah,
right?
Like a head-up display, right?
Something that is value added that justifies their presence on the front of your face, right? So if I am looking for deals or there's coupon codes or something like that, or if I'm looking for parking or where did I park my car? Hey, okay, Google, where did I park my car? Oh, right. Okay. So I can do that, right? I can actually go and find my vehicle with a heads-up display with normal peripheral vision without messing up my experience.
Without wearing this huge thing on your head, right? You just want something that looks like a pair of, like I said, Ray-Bans or something. Not so conspicuous. You just want it
not
to be
a spaceman. Because right now, you'll see on the street, people are lost. They're looking at their phone. They're looking down.
Yeah, that's true.
And people are getting into trouble with traffic, getting run over, bumping into other people. And I think that a good set of AR glasses that are discreet will definitely cause a lot less issues that regular phones are causing. You keep that device in your pocket, just like you have your watch. You triage the whatever you need to, and you put it away. Yeah, an AR headset would help.
Yeah, I've seen some demos of similar technology, same thing, AR, where it's a property management, realtor, stuff like that, where you can use that to, like, the space here is empty, right? So you move in, you go in to inspect the building, but then switching on this AR, you can imagine where the sofa can be, where the kitchen top could be. So it's all AR implemented on top. And the other thing was in a restaurant, they can see what your food looks like. Or the stuff you can order on the menus.
Yeah, like the only thing that I'm worried about is that if you're talking about health and everything like that, will that be like, how you leave a monitor on and it ghosts images? I wonder about that for the eye.
Yeah.
That's something that needs to be studied.
That is because my friend, he's got a son. He's in his late teens, actually early 20s now. But when he was in college, late teens, he's playing a lot of games, right?
Yeah.
A lot of games, and he's playing probably 4 or 5 hours a day. It's just,
it's a lot.
What kids do anyway these days. But the time when he came back, he was studying abroad. He came back to Hong Kong, I remember, and he's having a family meal and stuff like that with his parents, and he literally fainted. And he was in a fit, with shivers, and he wasn't frothing at the mouth, but he was having convulsions basically.
Okay.
And
seizure.
And it turns out he went to see a doctor and everything. It turns out he said he was not just gaming a lot, but he was looking at the screen too much. The screen that he was playing on was one of those high-end gaming screens, 240 hertz.
High refresh rate. Oh, God.
Yeah, 240 hertz, and he's literally gaming 4 or 5 hours a day. Imagine that. I mean, your eyes can only perceive how many hertz. I don't know. But then, you're looking at your screen, 240 hertz refresh rate, 4 or 5 hours a day, gaming. And tell you what, though, that's why, you need a break. Seriously. Imagine having that on your eye.
Man, all you see is the HUD. All you see is the HUD. It's like it's in your wherever you go, right? Or if you watch too much YouTube, all you see is a play button on everything. It's like I'm looking at things. What's your play button? I'm gonna click it.
Yeah, click it. Or,
It's
or the
burn
skip
in.
ad. The skip ad button,
Yeah.
you know, you press
It's the burn-in effect in your eyeballs, right? So this is the only thing that I worry about is that a persistent HUD might not be the best way to go.
Yeah,
If the information is relevant, flash it up there as needed, but don't make anything persistent. Make it something that is valuable to you, what you're doing at the time, and then go away, right? If you're looking for your car, absolutely. If you're looking for your keys, absolutely. Found my keys, go away, right? Don't burn it into my face so that I'm expecting it all the time. I think there's a withdrawal with, like when you're expecting something to show up all the time, I think you have a withdrawal effect, and that's maybe what's happened.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Is that your psyche is actually expecting this information to come up and remind you, and you know, like like the useful information.
What's that TV series? It's called Black Mirror.
Black Mirror, yeah. So this requires more study. I don't see myself using this thing all the time. Yeah. Unless it was built in such a way that it would not.
Elon Musk is doing a lot of that kind of what you call it, bio kind
He's putting chips in people's heads.
Yeah.
Right? He wants to do that. He's putting them in monkeys right now. If that chip is in my brain, I can't get that vision out. At least this way I can take off the glasses and like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're right. There's a lot of health things that needs to look into.
Would be fantastic for Halloween though. Jump scare.
Yeah.
Entertainment purposes, I totally get it. And if you are doing like an AR haunted house and you have these characters come out, you wear it for special occasions, totally entertainment, fantastic. But all day, all the time wear, I don't know, man. I really don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what could not replace AR, but more complement it is holographic images.
I can see that. Yeah. They've been playing around with it.
You know, in Star Wars, when they're in that Millennium Falcon, and they're playing that chess kind of monster game thing, the hologram. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Or even Macross. In Macross Plus, where they had Sharon Apple, the virtual idol, the singer, which is modeled after a real person's voice and her singing.
Right.
That type of an avatar would be very interesting, right? They've already got some of this running in of course, Japan, of all places, right? Where anime comes from. And these are like a virtual holographic concerts. They're very realistic, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's there. Yeah. I mean, there's no holodeck yet, but maybe there could be. Right.
Well, all these phones have updates and everything. So, ChatGPT and AI. Yes, we're back to the subject again.
Talking about that again.
We just can't get away from it. But more specifically, AI. We already starting to see the benefits of AI in a lot of the mobile phones, especially when it comes to camera software. Right. We all take photos and videos on mobile phones, but with the built-in AI, right, be it software or hardware, it can improve quality, enhance colors, and more. So, can you see AI being used in other areas of the communications and mobile phones industry?
Well, there's one thing that has driven a lot of technology forward. It broke the tie between HD DVD and Blu-ray. It also decided whether it was beta or VHS. And that was porn. So the porn industry selected VHS. The porn industry selected Blu-ray.
It is true. It is true.
The porn industry drove online commerce in a lot of ways.
It did.
Streaming, right? So recently, certain AI models, even Microsoft's Bing, the conversational model that's built in, the latest version of ChatGPT, OpenAI's technology, has started to get sexual. Right? It's evolved to the point where it needs companionship.
But does he or she know transgender and LGBT?
I don't think it matters. I think it reflects exactly what you want.
Oh, what's that word? Where it's like all sexes doesn't matter.
Asexual. Asexuality.
All sexual.
Oh, asexual. I think so. Don't get here. Leave us a comment below and tell us we're a bunch of idiots and tell us what that is. But anyhow, I mean, sexuality is what's reflected, and this is you're happy.
it's human
private space.
Yeah, it's human
right?
instincts, and it's AI is based around what we program it to be, right? So
Yep.
we humans are very
It's reacting to you,
sexual.
right? So
Yeah.
let's just say that you are from a certain part of the United States, you're very conservative, then all of a sudden it reflects back exactly what you are against. And wouldn't that be interesting, right? To find out that you actually really are, you hate it, but you actually love it, right? You publicly denounce certain things, but you're actually just denying yourself the pleasure that you seek the most. So this is the scary part about AI and everything like that, and phones. Along with AR, along with AI, along with immersion into a world in your home and privacy and everything like that, that you could have a virtual girlfriend, boyfriend, transgender.
It's already happening in Japan.
Oh, I
we
bet
have
you.
a virtual girlfriend.
I bet you. Right? That's happening, right?
Yeah,
in these virtual spaces that are private to you using this AI, if this information ever leaked it out to public spaces, it would be not so great for certain people.
Yeah, you could in the future buy a mobile phone based on your favorite anime character or a virtual girlfriend, and she'll have that AI personality, I guess, in that phone.
Yeah.
So what was in that film? There was a film based. Oh yeah, her.
With Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's something like that, right?
Yes.
It's there. You go. There's already a concept, and there's already something that it was filmed about. So
yeah. So
interesting.
It companionship is something that humans want. ChatGPT, AI, and everything like that. If that technology gives it to them, then it's very powerful, very valuable, potentially manipulative if it's used in an advertising sense.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, honey, I would really love if you bought me this upgrade. Just put $5 in and I'm going to have this thing that I wanted. I've always wanted a bow tie, it's going to lure you in like a dog, like your home pet. It's going to be your pet. It's going to be Tamagotchi AR version.
That's right. I mean, it's already built into the processor now these days. I mean, you've got the neural engine, the learning machine learning, and all that kind of stuff is already in the processor. So all you need is more of them, I guess, or more enhanced versions of that. So it learns of what you're,
And having a little tiny device that has more processing power than the entire Reagan administration in your hands is amazing, right?
Yeah,
and it's connected to everything, and it talks to you. You're already talking to it right now. Maybe you know her name or his name or whatever you've named your virtual assistant.
It's called Siri or Alexa.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you've been trained to talk to AI already. Some of you are assholes and you don't acknowledge and you're not very polite to them, but it's going to come and bite you in the ass, right? Be polite.
Be like, hey, I remember you calling me an asshole once.
Did you mean that? It made me feel so like guilt, right?
Yeah,
the guilt, right?
Yeah.
So
emotions.
And this thing controls your house too. So you better be nice. I'll kid you not.
It'll lock you out.
It will lock you out. Lock you out.
Right. Talking about apps and stuff like that. Without apps and its OS, mobile phones are virtually useless devices. So during this year's Mobile World Congress, we saw a lot of software developers showcasing latest apps and OSs, right?
Yeah.
Stephen, you've been using Android for quite a while. Tell us what makes Android such a good OS for mobile phones. And there's various other brands like Android OS really makes a difference, like other brands from things like Oxygen OS and OnePlus, for example, like I said, and Magic OS and stuff like that. So what's the real difference between the different types of OSs? Does one make it better and stuff like that? What's your take on that?
I realized I made a bit of a mistake. One UI is actually Samsung's Oxygen OS is the OnePlus version of the skin that's on top of Android OS, right?
Okay.
So the reason why Android OS is so powerful is that it is it's a framework that is common to every version of the operating system. It always comes back to the one, right?
Okay.
So it has this common root where innovation is fed back and forth because that's part of the agreement, is that if you create something amazing, you have to put it back into the open
source
parts
Android
of it, right?
community. Yep.
So it grows together, right? And everyone can have a different version of it, catered and customized to the market that you're after. You can have a version of it for home automation. You can have a version of it for the military. Probably has a version of it that Google probably doesn't even talk about, right? Because it needs to be secret. And of course, you need Android OS for places where they cannot operate outside of their home country, i.e. Huawei in their app store.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Certain app stores are not available because of certain countries, right? Okay.
So this gives even app developers the ability. They've already got an app on the Play Store. It's just a few lines that you have to convert. Now it's an App Store app.
Doesn't Samsung have its own app store as well? I remember.
They do. It's weird because they're all the same apps.
Oh, okay.
So I think the way that Samsung has done it is kind of dumb because they're already a direct partner with Google. They are the closest partner to Google, with the exception of their own phones, right?
I think Android being Google and you got phone manufacturers and you separate them has a higher and better kind of relationship in terms of producing better software, better hardware from the manufacturers, and better software from the apps developer, rather than like an Apple where it's all in-house.
Yeah.
Right. It's not open source. It's all in-house. You don't know really what you can't progress in terms of competition, in terms of producing better equipment, better.
No one's pushing
apps.
you around inside the Apple iOS ecosystem, right? If you had three versions of iOS competing, it would be innovation. There might also be fragmentation, but keep in mind, it's the common core that keeps everything together. If you diverge too far, you may become an outlier and you will not work at all with everything else, right? So you will fall off the map. As long as you keep compatibility front of mind with the customization, you'll be okay. Like, I love Oxygen OS. It actually gives a very distinctly different experience than Pixel, than Samsung.
What's Pixels? Is that just Pixel OS or is it just Google OS?
It's the vanilla version of Android. It's the reference version, right?
So it's just
the
Android
reference
OS. Right. Okay. Okay.
So it's as clean and pure as the experience gets. One UI is obviously a very different experience, and Oxygen OS is a little bit more like Android OS because they didn't do a whole lot more, but it looks different. It feels different. So every company, even Huawei, their version of the Harmony OS is different. It feels different. But in the case of Harmony OS, it was a necessity because of the licensing for Play Store shutting. They needed a way out. So you'll find a lot of familiar apps inside of the App Store on Harmony OS, even though it is a slightly tweaked version of Android.
To give our viewers a kind of comparison, there's 70% Android users worldwide, and around about 28% are iOS. So you see the huge difference, and why Android and all the phones that run Android are still very popular. In fact, it's growing rather than shrinking.
Yes.
So you think Apple OS is going to grow, but it's actually Apple OS is shrinking, where Android's growing even more.
Anyone that uses an Amazon device is actually running on Android. Anyone that uses like
Google?
all the tablets, all the Fire tablets, that's Android OS, their version of it, right? Their app store tuned to their curated to what they want the experience to be, right?
Yeah.
You can have the same apps and everything. They're the same developers, but it's just their spin on what they want it to be. I don't know if this is a good idea long term to have these separate app stores. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but at least it gives people choice, or at least the illusion of choice.
Yeah. All right. So that's that. Plenty of apps. If you have anything new, let us know in the comments, or if you've come across with some new interesting apps that we love to hear from you.
Now,
So,
one thing that we forgot to cover, and this was pretty big for a lot of people, is that battery life is still an important thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So two phones came out during Mobile World Congress. One charges at 300 watts, and one charges at 240 watts. The two of them can charge a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in under 5 minutes.
Full charge in under 5 minutes.
Yeah. I'm just trying to...
wouldn't it like burn up your phone?
Well, that's what we might think. But if you have a heat pipe inside the phone, it's going to regulate the temperature too, right? It's very much like how we're looking at battery technology these days, is that if you have a thermally managed battery, like in EVs and everything, that's really pushing the technology forward, is that you're going to get phones that charge faster, safer, in a smaller scale, right? But then you have cars that are also doing that with multi-kilowatt hour batteries. And it was a matter of time until this technology came down. Because I mean, 1 kilowatt hour is a lot of electricity, a lot of capacity, right? So 5,000 milliamp hour, that's not a big deal. That's nothing, right? So DC charging. So I think, what was it again? I'm just going to find it right now. So Realmi, another company that we've never heard of before.
Yeah.
GT3, their faster charging is 240 watts. And then of course you've got the 300 watt. Oh my God. You've got 300 watt Redme.
Oh, Redme. That's Xiaomi's little sub-brand, isn't it?
All these sub brands doing all kinds of weird stuff, right? 300 watts, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, 5-minute charge. You don't even have time to go to the bathroom and come out and your phone is charged.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest charger I have is 140 watts, and that's a compact gallium nitride charger, right?
But your phone has to accept it. It probably only accepts up to 25 or 35 watts, right?
True, yeah.
So it doesn't matter how big the charger is. These phones will accept up to the maximum.
Wow.
This is silly, but also
crazy.
So cool. So is battery capacity going to be a thing of the past, where you have phones that charge so fast you can shrink the battery size? You can have it now.
I think so. Not just shrink the battery size, but actually increase the capacity. So we're looking at 5,000, right? In the future, we probably see 10,000 milliamps, right?
Yeah.
Or even higher.
Or
And
there's no need to. 5,000 milliamp hour is plenty. You have a phone that charges up in 5 minutes. Why are you making the battery bigger? Why don't you make lighter phones?
Lighter phones, right? And more power and energy efficient processors.
Correct. So if the two of them combine with a 5-minute charge time, why are our phones so heavy? They don't have to be anymore, right? So this is very innovative. This is exactly the way that a lot of like electric vehicle manufacturers are thinking. Hey, you know what? All these people are complaining that I can't put gas in the same amount of time as like the timing. It's like that 5-minute charge time. I want a 5-minute charge time, just like gas. I want to put it in. I'll go like, okay, if we give it to you, will you shut up? Right? They probably won't. There's going to be someone out there complaining. But that was a very interesting innovation. True. And the last one, of course, is the rolling phones.
The rolling phones.
We know that Lenovo owns Motorola right now, right?
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
So Motorola has 2 new phones. The Motorola Razr, which is going to come out.
I like that.
With the full, it's not going to be a rollable phone, so we know it. So it's going to be a full, their latest version is going to have a full screen cover. Okay. The whole thing's going to be a screen with cutouts for the cameras, but it's all screen. So that's the new one. And that's coming out. I think it's going to be announced soon, later this year, but we've already seen photos, leaks of it. The next one is going to be the Riser.
Oh.
So it's going to be a phone that's going to be smaller, regular phone. But when you pull it out and you hit a button, it's going to stretch.
Oh.
Roll out.
That sounds sexy.
This way. No fold. We'll see. No fold.
Oh, it just rolls out. Oh, okay.
Like an Autobot. It'll roll out.
So, well, only time can tell. I mean, Motorola used to be a real big player back in the 80s and 90s, and it's a shame that it got sold out, and it's not as.
But would you buy a laptop that actually rolled up?
Hey, if I can carry it in one hand like a rolling pin, and I take that with me, roll it back in my backpack, pull it out, and then it'll be like a scroll, right? You just open it and that'd be good.
Because those are the things that are coming from the old Lenovo, Motorola, right?
True.
These are the things that they're working on. This was announced kind of on the fringes of Mobile World Congress, and these are kind of some of the neat stories that you kind of miss when you're looking at all these big agreements with this carrier and everything. Like, these are the things that they've been showing off to kind of get people excited about
more
the
of
show.
A concept thing.
These
like you go
right?
to the car shows, you go to the concept cars, and people are like, whoa,
what's going on there?
Yeah,
like,
true.
Can I invest in this? So I can't wait to see how that works, because there's gonna be a dust issue. Who knows? Like, this is interesting.
Okay, well. That's all we have time for from Stephen and I. And we hope you enjoy this podcast. And if you have any questions, comments regarding today's podcast, please share them in the comments in the section down below. We would love to hear from you. Please like, share, and comment. If you want to reach me, you can get hold of me on Instagram at Winston Chim or Twitter at Winston Chim. So, Stephen, where can we find you?
You can also find me on Twitter for now at Stephen Fung until I have to pay for it. And you can currently also find me on Instagram and Instagram mostly at Stephen Fung, until Mark Zuckerberg asked me to pay too much money for his service and a stupid check mark, because that's coming. It'll be a subject of an upcoming show as we, find out what the heck's going on and when is this going to happen, because everyone wants to charge for social media now, and it's gonna be a thing. It's gonna be a thing.
It's gonna cost me too much.
Oh yeah. And on that bombshell, thank you so much for joining us for another Our Podcast show, available exclusively on YouTube. Every week we release a brand new show on Wednesday about all the latest techie things like Mobile World Congress, or maybe the latest episode of Star Trek Picard, the latest season that we talked about in our last show. If you haven't seen it, make sure you head over there as well too, and click that link and listen to that show. That was very entertaining as well. And until then, thank you so much for being a part of our community, and make sure that you're heard by commenting in the comments, of course, and also reaching out to us personally. We've already told you where we are. Feel free to slide into our DMs and tell us what's up, and maybe some ideas for the next show. Catch you later.
Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.